We got no music. We got nothing. We dropping frames already. There is something about YouTube. Stop it. Stream resumed. We should be good this time. Make sure everything is good and Gucci. I don't know what it is about YouTube, but it does not like my stream settings for Twitch. But anyways, welcome back. What's up, FazeBoss473? What up, buddy? We're back with the day after podcast. If you guys are new around here, if you're just checking out the VOD afterwards, after the stream, this is the day after every Atlanta United game. We're going to talk about Atlanta United. We're going to talk about the game from yesterday, and they're just live streams for me to talk to chat, talk about my thoughts on the game, see what we could have done better, see what we did well, and that's a lot of what today is going to be about. I'm going to take my glasses off again because of the glare. I keep forgetting about how bad the glare actually is, but I want to talk about the good things that happened yesterday, which is actually super important, I feel like. And as I say that, let me just make sure, because I bet you it is. The good things that happened yesterday. The best thing that happened yesterday, I should say, is Frank de Boer changed his formation. It was by far the best thing ever. We started off with the formation I guess you would expect us to run, which I can go ahead and pull up here. So this is the formation that was released an hour before the game. You didn't get to watch the game. It was a decent game. It wasn't you didn't miss too much, but it was still a good game nonetheless. There was a lot to learn from the game. I wonder if I could turn my lights up a little bit. Hold up. Nope. Dude, some days I swear my apartment's just darker than usual. But this is the lineup that we started with an hour in, or an hour before the game started. This is the lineup that we were looking at. It was Tito in, which was the big thing. Everybody was freaking out because Tito was starting for the first time. And it was really like everybody was ready for it. They were excited. It was everything that everyone wanted. When Tito was walking into the game, he was smiling, he was cheesing, he was ready to play. It was incredible. And then we had Nagbe on the left, which was weird, which meant no Breck Shea or George Bello or Mikey Ambrose. Jeff started in the middle in place of Nagbe. And then Remedi still played in the middle on the right side versus the left side, which is usual. But it's because I think Remedi is more of the box-to-box midfielder yesterday, more so than the defensive mid that Lorenowitz ended up taking over instead. So then Gressel obviously playing on the right as usual. Miles Robinson takes his spot back on right center back. Parkhurst in the middle and LGP at left center back. So again, nothing too crazy there. The subs, as you would expect, Alec Khan, Mikey Ambrose, Barco, Carlton, Breck Shea, Vasquez, and Williams. So no Pogba in this lineup, which I don't know if that really threw anybody off or not, but it wasn't really a name that I was really looking for. Once he gets consistently on the team sheet, then I'll be ready to look out for him. But due to the lineup that we put out, it kind of makes sense, the players that were on the bench. So that was what we started with. The first half wasn't anything really too crazy. In the first minute, Joseph almost scores, does crazy things, looks really good. Joseph and Tito both run down the field, full pace, full steam ahead. It looks like we're going to have a really attacking game, and then it all goes out the window again, and there's no more attacking the lineup. So we run into the same problem of a lot of possession, a lot of defense, and just sitting on the ball as much as possible. By the end of the game, we end up with 72% possession or something crazy like that. So we end up there where it's like we could have done a lot better in terms of what we did with the ball. We held the ball a lot, but Philadelphia wasn't really trying to push, especially once they ended up scoring. And then in the second half, we ended up running something a little more similar to not that. That's what we ran. This is what we ended up running. about midway through the game is Parkhurst ended up switching with LGP. Parkhurst goes on the left as a left back. Miles Robinson stays in the middle with LGP. They're both playing center back, and Gressel plays right back. Nagby moves to left wing, and then you see switch those two. Pity Martinez fully tuck in as a center attacking mid. Jeff Lorenowitz and Rometty behind him. Villalba on the right, Martinez on the central position. So this is a formation obviously we're a lot more comfortable with. It was freaking people out that Parkey was so far up the field. Whenever it first happened, I wasn't sure what was really going on with the formation. It didn't really make sense why Parkhurst was pushed up so much. But then you started realizing the shape of the team was changing to the 4-3-3, which I think is another thing a lot of people were asking for. So there were a lot of things about this game that showed that Frank is, one, either paid attention to us, or two, learning from his mistakes and is changing the game while it's going on, which was my big thing that I talked about last week, is that my thing about a manager isn't about how you start the game, it's always about what you do once the game started. And he proved a lot this week in terms of changing the way the team was playing formation-wise, but the style of play still really didn't change as much as it should have, which still ended up causing us some problems there. But nonetheless, the team did look better. There were a lot of players that were doing a lot better. Obviously, we ended up conceding a goal that probably shouldn't have been, but it got a lucky deflection, threw Brad to the wrong side. Brad ends up falling over in a pretty hysterical way, which I guess I could bring up. Let's see if I find the video. Yeah. So Brad ends up just flat-footed, gives up on his whole life, falls over. It's rough. So that's how life is for Brad Guzan right now. Also, new FIFA 19 series. I'm gonna plug it while you're here. There's a new FIFA 19 series up and out on the channel. Carlos Piol is the manager. His face is in the game. He's the manager. We're playing the MLS again. We're going to try to go for the treble. We're going to try to do everything we can. First 2 episodes are out. 3rd episode is out tomorrow. Make sure you catch up on that. Other than that, though, is there anything else that was really on here that I wanted to talk about? I don't think so, out of my tweets. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah. This is the guy that we almost bought instead of Pity, if you guys didn't see this. This is Lucas Rodriguez, the left winger from Argentina that we paid $2 million for just to discover him in the MLS because there's discovery rights. So he scores goal of the year in March. So there's that, and now we have Pity Martinez, who fell over 5 times again this week. So you know, maybe once he rests while he's in Argentina with the national team, maybe he'll come back stronger. You never know. So I'll wait until he gets back from international break. We play our next game and then see how much I really want to give him shit for. But as of right now, not the happiest person on the planet with his performances, but it is what it is. But back to what I was saying about Frank de Boer, is that Frank was changing things. Still didn't change necessarily the play style of the team, but changed the formation so it got more players forward. There was a little bit more promise in terms of the balls into the box, and then once, obviously, we ended up making a change after Tito was looking a little rough for his last 15 minutes of the game. We end up bringing in Barco. Barco goes to the left. Nagby returns to... Where'd Nagby go? Did Nagby move to the right? Barco moved to the left. Martinez down the middle. It was the first move we made, and then immediately after... we end up scoring our first goal, or yeah, our first and only goal, I should say. Which, let me grab that video while I'm here, because they just posted a video, and it's the 360, video of Barco's goal that they showed in the stadium, and it's such a good video, because you can actually see like really what's going on here. If Twitter would just not play videos at like 160p, it'd be great, but nonetheless, that's what we have to deal with. What's up, Luke? How's it going, buddy? But you see, the movement in the box was so much better the second Barco came on. And that's because Tito admittedly was tired and was just trying to do too much, so he ended up just kind of overdoing it and wasn't really putting the pitch into the right dimension it needed to be successful. So it was a good call to bring Tito out for Barco. I still think we needed to do something with Pity to either get him out of the game or to readjust how the team was lining up for that to work. I can't wait for Pity to get back into form. It's tough coming to a new league, though. I don't think it's about playing in a new league, Clags. I'm pretty sure he's just... I don't know if he's being lazy or if it's just lack of energy or lack of interest in wanting to learn the new league, but it doesn't really look like he's trying to understand the league that much. Because if he was, then he would understand what he needs to do. Not saying he needed to copy Miggy, but have a little bit more energy and running. Granted, again, we're going to keep saying we played 7 games in 3 weeks or whatever and did this, that, and the other, and that's why he's doing so poorly. So again, we'll see how he does when he comes back from international break, but he's going to Argentina instead of resting or training with the team or training conditioning or doing whatever. So I'm not really sure how much it's actually going to help him going to Argentina for the international break, but you never know. We'll see what ends up happening there. But once we ended up bringing Barco into the game in this 4-3-3 formation, obviously Barco scores, which the interesting thing was, and also I should say at this point, Breck Shea was also in the game. Over Parkhurst. That was the first change we made, sorry. And Breck pushed up actually in front of Barco, and Barco came from the left back position. He was standing basically next to Laranowitz, and Barco ran down the middle and got next to Joseph for the cross from Julian Gressel, because Nagby was tucked in a little bit more like next to Pity Martinez. So that's kind of what ended up happening to score that goal, which looked really, really good, and that's the team you kind of want to see. Those are like the positions Greg Garza would have got in terms of Garza and Barco or whatever matchup on the left side. So that's looking a lot more comfortable. I think the team just got more comfortable in the 4-3-3 formation once the subs came in. But I do think Tito played a really good game. Miles Robinson literally saved us from 3 goals. So like Luke said, Robinson's doing very well. I mean, he's the best center back on the team currently, and he could genuinely be one of the best center backs in the league right now. And if he stays on form when LGP and everybody else gets on form, our defense is going to be unstoppable. Our midfield's getting it together, and then we just got to work on our attack. So Clegg says, actually, that is a really good point. It really pisses me off when he just decides to roll over, even though the pass isn't even that bad. Yeah, he does that. He dodges tackles a lot. So, like, if somebody's literally running at him, instead of taking the tackle and getting the foul, like what Barco's really, really good at, whether he dives sometimes or not, or... you know, what Joseph does to get around a player or whatever. It's like he tries, I don't know if he tries to do a skill move and just loses the ball in the tackle, or if he just literally jumps out of every tackle and every challenge he's in, but he literally never takes a tackle. He's terrified to get hurt. I don't know what's going on. Frank DeBoer said it's because he doesn't like playing on turf and he's adjusting to playing on turf, but I highly doubt that, because he didn't look good in Herediano. He didn't look good at Kennesaw State, which Kennesaw State is literally ranked as one of the best fields in the country. Regardless of how big the stadium is, the field crew itself is literally one of the best teams in the country. And then he played at DC, where he also struggled. So I highly doubt it's actually because of the turf, but maybe that's why he doesn't want to take a tackle. I'm not really sure. But his shooting yesterday was god-awful. His passing was really bad. He had 2 really good opportunities where he basically out-dribbled 4 players, and you saw what Pity can do. And then he didn't pass the ball. He held on to it too long or made a bad pass and ended up losing the ball for us. So... what's up, Tim? How's it going, buddy? I think Julian needs more crossing to help Joseph. It's so dangerous. It was so dangerous last year. That's harder to do in the current shape of the team. I mean, Julian's trying to get into the positions he can, but he has to sit back a little bit more this year because of the narrowness of the front 3. So there were a lot of reasons why Julian worked a lot better on the right last year versus this year. Not saying he's doing a bad job, but he doesn't get the opportunities he can. But Gressel's also having some issues with passing. He obviously has had his very good crossing. He's honestly one of the best players on the team, which says how bad our team is currently, because there are still some misplaced passes, there are still some misplaced crossing, but it really comes down to the positioning. The thing that nobody will realize and give credit to Miggy, even though obviously we give Miggy an immense amount of credit for literally everything for our club last season, because of how much movement happened in the midfield from our number 10, it pulled players away. And then you had somebody like Tito on top who would go inside, sometimes go wide, cut under Julian Gressel, do everything that he could to kind of work around Julian, and it allowed Julian to push forward to actually cross the ball in. Which yesterday he didn't really have to cross the ball too much because he was in the 4 in the back for half of the game. And then obviously his crossing did end up turning out pretty well. He had an opportunity with Joseph Martinez and then ended up getting the goal with Barco. So the opportunities are still there, but it is harder to do. The right side is being a lot more focused on than the left side of the field because the left side's our weak side currently. So defenses know that too, and they're shifting all their defenders over there. There's nobody like Miggy to pull those defenders back to the left or to the center, so they all focus on the right side, and then our best players all bunch up together on the right side. So there's no crossing creativity. Frank's trying to do more of a tiki-taka-esque, but not really, style of possession, build-up play to score versus build up play tiki-taka to get the on the ground cross to Joseph Martinez, if that makes sense. But I only was able to watch first half, but what formation do we play second half? It's a formation on the screen. We ran the 4-3-3 second half. What happened was we ended up switching it. So originally it was LGP, Robinson, and Parkey in the middle. And then Parkey ended up moving to left back, which was weird, and nobody really knew what was going on until we realized the formation was changing. And then this was our back line. Jeff was still in the game, and then instead of Barco, it was Nagby on the left, and then Tito on the right. And then we brought in Barco and Breck Shea, which they played well together on the left side. Breck Shea still looked awful. He literally somehow chipped the ball and it went out of bounds, which nobody really understands how that happened, but you know, he does incredible things, so he managed to do that. So we ended up playing a 4-3-3 second half. It ended up working well, but it still wasn't perfect. I mean, obviously it created our goal to score. I think the transition period between the end of the first half, was it the end of the first half? No, that was the second half, wasn't it, when we got scored on? We got scored on second half too, right? That transition period when we were switching formation is actually when we got caught out and players were shifting and trying to figure out really where they were playing because they were obviously changing style of play and formation. So players were getting caught out of position, ended up having a really good shot that ended up just going through the legs of a defender, bouncing off their leg and fooling Brad to stay to his position and fall over. So that's how we ended up getting scored on. But it was during that transition period when we were switching from the 3 in the back to the 4 in the back. So that's what ended up happening there. But other things that really happened. But yeah, that's mainly why it's like, yeah, we would love to see Gressel cross more, but he has to be able to have the positioning there. Whenever it was Barco there wasn't really any supply to get Julian Gressel the ball, except for Julian would get it sometimes, but then have to try to pass it inside because Barco and Pitti were playing center attacking mids, but really close together. And then Julian makes a bad pass, ball gets taken, they counter. We have to play defense again and to build out of the back again, and then we try the left side of the field. And then yesterday, Gressel really couldn't get the crosses in because for whatever reason, and I cannot tell you how it makes sense, but at one point in the game, and he stayed there for at least 10 to 15 minutes, it felt like, but Pitti decided that he didn't want to play on the left side of the field anymore, so he decided to move all the way to the right side of the field and play in front of Tito Villalba, which Tito was clearly mad about because it stunted any kind of creativity Tito wanted to make on that side. So we ended up having Gressel, Tito, and Pitti on the right side of the field. And then Remedi ended up moving to like left wing or something. And this was like as we were starting to switch the formation a little bit, and I think that's what happened is Pitti was more so trying to play center attacking mid, but couldn't figure it out for some reason. But there ended up being a point where it was right when Pitti came to that side of the field. The ball went out of bounds. It was our throw, and he tried to pick up the ball. Frank DeBoer gets off the bench, and it looked like he shoved Pitti to get off of the ball and tell him to go to the other side of the field, and gave the ball to Tito for the throw-in because Pitti was on the wrong side of the field. So that's another reason why I say it's hard for Gressel to get those crosses in, because he can't get the ball in the right place because the players in front of him are stunting his creative ability to cross the ball in and to make those runs. If Pitti's there, Villalba's there, and then Gressel's at the back, he's not going to push forward. There's no reason for him to. He has two creative players in front of him, so he's not going to do anything there. So that's another reason why. A bit off topic, but I'm sure Julian started at ATL as a 10. He started in the midfield. You could call it a 10. I mean, we had Miggy at the point. Miggy was still our number 10. Gressel was originally coming in as a center defensive mid. Then we moved him to right mid. We played him at center attacking mid when Miggy got injured. And then we moved him back to right mid and then eventually to right back. But we only put him at right back because we started running the pseudo 3 in the back formation, and that was also when Tyrone Mears and Anton weren't doing that well, so it made sense for us to put somebody on the right, kind of like how we did with Nagby today, because Breck, Shea, and Ambrose aren't doing well, so we decided to put Nagby on the left to see if that would spark any other creativity there. But during the majority of the game, Nagby ended up playing in the midfield anyways, so it didn't actually matter that Nagby was lining up on the left mid spot. But Julian Gressel is fully capable of playing as a number 10, a number 6, and as a wingback. So, I mean, that's just the type of guy he is. That's like I genuinely think that like Miles Robinson could play right back if we ever needed him to or anything like that. So that's kind of current shape of the team. It's still going to be super interesting, and it's the one thing that I'm really, really focused on right now, is especially because we're going into a 13-day break. On the back side of the break, we're going to get Franco Escobar back. Pogba should be playing with the team a little bit more, so maybe he'll be ready to play. Obviously, George Bello hopefully will be kind of having his name around the team again. Breck Shea hasn't been doing well. Miles Robinson's really the only notable center back currently, but that's not to take anything away from LGP or Parkhurst, so they just haven't done anything noticeably well. But that doesn't mean they're doing anything poorly, because still a lot of the goals that we've conceded really aren't the center back's fault. There were a couple times yesterday that literally Miles Robinson saved us because Parkey and LGP didn't do that well. But again, new formation, new style of play. LGP's already made a comment on it, so that's kind of where we're at there. So it's going to be super interesting to see the Parkhurst, LGP, Robinson, and even Lorenowitz 4, and then if you want to include Gressel 5. And then we bring in our best right back and one of the best players at the playoff run of the season last year, Franco Escobar. Then you bring in Florentine Pogba, who a lot of people would probably say is going to end up being a better center back than a lot of our players, and then who could even play left back like I'm playing in my career mode right now. And there's too many opportunities at center back right now that we don't really know where they're playing, and it almost makes me wonder if we're going to end up keeping everybody or if we're going to try to strengthen somewhere else in the field. Obviously, there's still Lorenowitz who can play center defensive mid instead of center back, and he's totally fine with being the role player anyways. Like I said, Florentine Pogba can play on the left back spot. Franco Escobar could play center back or right back. Julian Gressel could end up moving to right wing if we ever end up using him in that formation. So there's still ways for us to get everybody involved into the team, but it is going to be a very weird transitional period trying to get everybody in on the team correctly. So it seems like the fans are really trying to back the boys during the 90 minutes. I mean, yeah, for sure. It's more we're trying to show them that our frustration's not with them, it's with the style of play currently. We know what they're capable of. They know what they're capable of, and it's just them adjusting to the new style of play, formation, whatever you may have it, and also Frank de Boer coming off of his high horse with the formation and style of play. There's going to be a happy middle ground that I think we saw near the end of the last game and near the end of the Monterey game, where Frank de Boer's system is still being used, but it also mixes in with the attacking style of play from last season. Both can work together, and that's why I'm still not full Frank de Boer out or anything like that. I still think there is a system for everybody to work cohesively together, and I do think that is going to end up happening at some point. So it's just going to kind of be a waiting game. Like I did just say, I think next game isn't for 13 days, so this series is on a hiatus until they're back. Maybe I'll do like a random day after video, like on a weekend or something, where I talk about the international break, because we have Tito, Joseph, and Pitty all on international leave, and all three of them could end up playing. Maybe we might see some players play with Atlanta United too as well, so I'll keep an eye out for that and maybe make something about that as well. Our next three games, let's see. I know we have FC Dallas and a couple other teams. Let's see, Atlanta United. I don't really keep up with our schedule. Currently, it doesn't even matter who we really play. Our first game back is going to be against Columbus in Columbus, which does not look like an easy game for us. New England is after that. Again, not really an easy game for us. But the good thing is between Columbus and New England, we have another 2-week break. So we have 14 days to get ready for the New England game, regardless of what happens in Columbus. And then a week later is our next home game on 4/20. Atlanta United versus FC Dallas will be our game after that. So Columbus is going to be tough. New England is not going to be as easy as it was the past couple seasons. And FC Dallas will be an interesting game. Their attack's really not looking that great, but so that one's probably going to end up in a draw. Jossie Zardes looks incredible for Columbus currently. Zach Steffen's looking really good too. There's no fan base in Columbus, so there won't be any home field advantage. So we'll see what happens there. But realistically, I don't see us coming away with the Columbus win. That one may be a draw. But again, you never know. The team could come back full force and have something to prove and just go off and score goals, which you would love to see, but we'll see. We still only have 2 goals in the MLS currently, so that's where we're at. New England, I'm still not too sure about what's going to happen there. I'll have to see how New England keeps playing up until that point. But our games are super spread out for the next month, basically. We have a game on the 30th of this month, the 13th of April, the 20th of April, and the 27th. So we have, I mean, I guess it's not that spread out, but there's obviously a gap between this weekend and the 30th, and then again between the 30th and the 13th. So a lot can happen with the team. A lot can happen with the play style. A lot can happen with a lot of things with the club in general. I think the next game is going to be very, very important, and that's going to be kind of the decision point, I think. I think the board has already been looking at options if and when Frank de Boer proves he can no longer exist at the club. And I think that's going to be where they start maybe really putting plans into motion. Not to say that it'll happen that week, but it could. Between those 2-week breaks, we could end up bringing somebody else in. You never know. Maybe we even do it this time, but I highly doubt it. I think he still has a few more games in him before he really goes down with the ship. So it'll be interesting. Barco's goal was pretty decent. It was a good goal, and especially because he just came onto the field. He showed a lot of energy. Barco's looking really good this year. I'm proud of him. So that's where we're going to end this episode of The Day After. Again, there was a new episode of the FIFA 19 Career Mode, Carlos Puyol Atlanta United Career Mode that went out today as of recording this on Monday. There'll be another episode out tomorrow, and then That'll be 3 episodes. We'll probably end up doing daily for the first half of the season, I think. And then maybe spread it out if I end up finding another career mode that I want to do on YouTube. But other than that, that is where we're going to end it. I'm going to go record that series right now. Make sure you like the stream if you did enjoy. Definitely subscribe if you're new. Turn on those notifications. That way you know when I go live for the series. That way you can jump into the chat just like Clags, Tim, Luke, and Fam all did. And just get your opinions in on there. Ask me some questions, and I'm more than happy to answer. Other than that, I will see you guys next time.